Kimbo Slice versus Ken Shamrock is a weird fight. It is also one of the most compelling MMA matchups of the year so far. The fact is, Bellator CEO Scott Coker knows what he's doing, and he's selling MMA fans of all kinds a very interesting package. The funny thing about Slice versus Shamrock and Bellator promotion in general is the audience for which it's intended. If you're an invested fan of mixed martial arts, the chances of you being interested in this main event are very slim indeed. After all, Slice left off his MMA career over 5 years ago after a pair of knockout losses, sandwiching an uninspiring win over the woefully one-dimensional Houston Alexander. Not exactly the stuff of legend. And while Ken Shamrock certainly did more to earn his reputation as a true mixed martial artist by pioneering the role of submission wrestling in the sport, he was past his prime while the UFC was still running one-night tournaments. Since returning to MMA in 2000, Shamrock has racked up a record of 5 wins and 10 losses, with not one of those wins over top-flight opposition. Shamrock, too, has been inactive for about 5 years since his last fight, a TKO via injury at the hands of journeyman Mike Burke. Slice is old for MMA at 41, Shamrock is old in general at 51. But Slice vs. Shamrock isn't for the current crop of dedicated mixed martial arts fans. It's for the men and women who remember the days of Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, and Tito Ortiz. Fans who remember watching the UFC on Spike TV, where Bellator is now conveniently broadcast. And there's nothing wrong with that. To a certain extent, we all tune in because we recognize the names. Recognition is an implicit promise of quality. I know that name, so I can trust that this is worth my time. Of course, given the current form of these two headliners, this would seem to be a pretty cruel trick. You might in fact think that Scott Coker and his ilk are simply having a laugh at the expense of the wayward MMA fans of yesteryear. But here's the thing. This show isn't really about Ken Shamrock and Kimbo Slice. Not at all. It's about Bellator's featherweight champion, Patricio Pitbull Freire, an ice-veined kickboxer currently operating in the best condition of his already impressive career. It's about the similarly peaking Daniel Straus, who just gave Pitbull the fight of his life and is now looking to get back on his track after the loss. It's about Michael Chandler, the former lightweight champion trying to get back on his feet after a series of 3 close title fights that didn't go his way, 2 of which maybe should have. While both Slice and Shamrock are closer to senior discounts at the cinema than they are MMA relevance, the only thing standing between Freire, Straus, and Chandler and UFC contention are their Bellator contracts, and that's the truth. So if you haven't followed the sport for a couple years and you simply recognize the names at the top of the bill, tune in for the whole card. You won't be disappointed. And if you couldn't care less about Ken and Kimbo's feud, find comfort in the fact that the rest of the main card is populated by legitimate, high-level talents. And after all the young lions get their time, we can all sit back and enjoy one of the strangest main events the sport of MMA has ever seen. Here's hoping it ends up being fun, but it's fine either way, because somehow, Kimbo Slice versus Ken Shamrock in 2015 just makes sense.